Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today what we're going to be talking about is marriage and expectations versus reality. So with marriage, I always kind of thought it'd be more like dating but with all the perks, if that makes sense, because you kind of think, like, they always tell you about marriage, oh, like, expectations of marriage, you're thinking now you get to be with your partner who's your husband now, so you get to have all that time with him, spend all that time with him, you get to do all the fun stuff. Now everything is halal, so you're not, how can I put it, like, not really sneaking. For some people it's sneaking, but you're kind of just keeping a distance but still trying to have fun, but still trying to keep that level of like modest and control in it, where now you get to wake up and see them, go to sleep, they're there 24/7. Some people can't stand that. But early days, it's kind of early days for me, and I kind of was like, at the beginning, it was great. And you, as they say, honeymoon period, you enjoy each other more, enjoy each other's company, you experience different things with each other, you get to wake up with this person, see what their routine looks like, and basically make your two lives become one and fit. And then it goes from a lot of fun, it's still fun, but to where lady compromise comes in. So you're kind of having to compromise certain things, like letting the person know where you're going, where you're going to be, as in a sense, as in like, so they know, okay honey, I'm not going to be home for dinner. Like, just things that are seen as consideration, and for some people will seem as a compromise, not thinking about I and thinking about we. So it's a lot of like, compromise. So some things that some people might see as not an issue, some women or some guys will be like, look, I like my own independence, I like to go watch a movie by myself, I want to spend my own time. And they can't, I didn't like differentiate between their time and the time with their spouse. So what happens is they feel like they lose themselves a little bit. And with me, I think at the beginning, I was excited, I'm still excited, but what happens is you go from in your little cocoon, and that cocoon lasts as long as you let it last. But what happens is, at some point after the honeymoon and all of that, you kind of have to go back to work. Your relatives want to see you two as a couple, they want to come visit, they want you to come see them. So you go from you visiting your family alone to you visiting them with your husband, and then at the same time trying to give both sides equal amount of attention, so your in-laws and his in-laws, so both families. So then what happens is sometimes you kind of lose each other in between, because you're trying to keep your identity and he's trying to keep his own, basically not even just identity, but yourself and your own time and who you are. So you kind of have to learn to separate between me and us, and that's quite difficult. And men, not all men, but in my experience, men tend to kind of like find it hard to adjust a little bit from being their time and their games and their videos and their boys or whatever it is, then to think about, wait, my wife. And same goes for some women. It would be like, oh, I want to go out with my girls, I want to do me all the time, and it's that lack of consideration. So I think that's where the term compromise comes into, where you kind of have to make a schedule and kind of fit each other around. So it's like everybody feels that basis of like respect, and that I'm considering your feelings and you're considering my feelings, and sharing time equally. So with us, it was adjusting time. I was so used to giving all the time to my family, so it was always, I want to spend all my time with my family, because I used to look after my nana, and it was always just me and her. And then I never really had time for my husband now when we were seeing each other. But he understood that he's not such a big priority, right, or take up as much space as I would give to my nana. But when I got married, I need to think, okay, wait, my husband needs me, and I would consider what he needed first, and then I would be like, okay, I've dealt with what he needs, I'm gonna go see my mum, or I'll be like, okay, mum, I need to do this for him, and then I'm gonna do this for you. And it was an adjustment period. Sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes you're like, I ain't got time for you. Like, leave me alone. You've peed me off. I just want to deal with me. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work, because this is the person you said you want to spend the rest of your life with. And doesn't matter how you're feeling at that time, you know that within a couple of hours or even a couple of minutes, you're going to forgive him and you're going to move on, especially if it's not something that big and he's being maybe inconsiderate, or you haven't considered his feelings and you've just acted because you're so used to being independent. And no, being single, that is the transition between single or as in non-married, is different. Obviously there's some people who are committed and they're not married, but that's a whole different thing. So that period was interesting. First week of marriage, intense, in so many different amazing ways. We went, I don't know, like, I've never lived with, like, when you never really live with a man, and then you live with a man, and then it's like sometimes you're kind of like a little bit shocked, because you're like, oh my god, like, this is it, this is him. Like, you're so, it's like kind of like flabbergasted in a way. So me, I kind of like call my sister, and Somali culture, we tend to have something called like a 7-day period where you can't, well, you can contact your family, but you really shouldn't, unless it's like there's a necessary reason, but you definitely can't see them. So my husband, not being a Somali, I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of this, he didn't know about this, and his family didn't know about this. So most people would go on honeymoon, but obviously we got married during Corona time, and we didn't, because of work, we couldn't really go anywhere yet. So we decided to stay and postpone our holiday, and we kind of just, cooped up and had our own time, which was great. But at the same time, I think after being cooped up, it's kind of like, I want to see my family. Like, I want to see everyone. Like, I want to, like, I don't know, like, see the world, see the world in the eyes of like a married woman. And I don't know, like, it didn't hit me. I kind of was like, it was different. I was so happy to find the love of my life, and I was so happy to finally be married. I'm going to do a video about like the wedding, because that itself was like, oh my god. Yeah, it was so intense. But anyway, so I went to go see my family, and we saw his family, and I think we could finally breathe, because we were kind of like cooped up on our own, and we were just in each other's faces. We couldn't go anywhere because it was the lockdown, and it was just us, me and him, and we hadn't really unpacked. It was fun. We kind of played like games and watched movies, and like rom-coms, and we just chilled. We went for a walk up the park. We went up to the park and we had a walk, and it was quite hot. It was still nice. The weather hadn't changed. It wasn't cold yet. It wasn't winter, but it was amazing. We had such a fun time, but at the same time we argued. We laughed. If anyone here knows what I'm talking about, I have a husband who doesn't argue. So when I say argue, it's usually me doing the and him going, sorry honey. And it's like so difficult to argue with someone. Usually he'll just roll his eyes and he'll be like, okay, and then just strop off. Or we do the whole thing where he gives me silent treatment. That's his idea of arguing. He'll just like do this, and then he'll go, oh, and he'll just be quiet, so then you can tell he's miserable. So then usually I'm just like, all right honey, okay, whatever, like, we'll just, and because we're like so alike, and we're silly, we kind of get each other so much in that. Like, I'm really good. He always says, like, apart from his dad, like, I can really, really read him. And all the way through our relationship, he would say, how did you know that? How did you know I was thinking that? How did you know? Because, I don't know, like, I get him. I'm really good at reading people, but him, I proper read him. And I think that was one of the things I was like, okay, you know, yeah, me and him are definitely like, yeah, we're meant to be. So I think my advice would be, don't go into marriage thinking about me. Yes, it's very important to be independent. It's very important to still have your own identity and be yourself. That is really good to have that, because you don't want to go into a marriage and dissolve yourself and lose yourself in, you know, what love is, and you forget who you are, and you basically compromise on your own dreams. Don't do that. But at the same time, don't go in there thinking I as well, because what happens is that loads of marriages fall apart because people cannot compromise. People cannot think, okay, this is not such a big deal, or, you know, find a way that everybody kind of gets what they want. It might not be 100% directly straight to where you want it to be, but at least you're willing to let certain things go in order, in the long run, for you to get what you want as well. But I think just be happy. Enjoy your husband. Enjoy who you're becoming. Enjoy who you are together. Don't think about what other people think of you. Don't think about what other people's expectations of your marriage is supposed to be. Don't try to please anyone, because my difficulty was that I wanted to be the best daughter and the best wife. And the thing is, it's doable, but not 110%, because you have to be a good wife, but at the same time, your mother loves you regardless. This husband is different, because your mother is your blood. She will forgive you for not calling her, for not showing up, but your husband is different. He loves you, but despite all of that, he's still going to be like, like, you know, some men are like that. My husband couldn't care. My husband, if I went to chill with my mom for 2 days, he would be like, okay, honey, chill with your mom 2 days. If I starve him, now we got a problem. So with him, like they say, a way to a man's heart is through his belly. Let me tell you something, I can cook, so you already know how I got him there. So yeah, so just be yourself, but at the same time, compromise, communicate. Communication is so important. I used to think people say communication. I'm like, people talk, of course it's communication. If we're not talking, how does it work? But when you're married to someone that's maybe not good at communicating, or they're shy, what happens is that you kind of tend to become the overpowering one in the relationship, and you're always like thinking, oh my god, I'm so selfish, I'm constantly. But at the same time, you're so afraid of, you know, being overpowering someone, that you kind of pull back. Whereas me, I learned that I had to say my piece with him. If I didn't tell him, look, I'm not happy about this, or I don't like this, he won't know, and if he won't change it. So I was like, yeah, I would pull him to a side and I would say, look, honey, I don't like this, or honey, this is my problem, like, help me fix this. And he did, which is crazy to think, because we don't think that if you say to someone, I don't like something, they will just ignore you. But they love you, and you nip the stuff in the bud at the beginning, something you don't like, and you address it, as I would say. That person loves you enough and will be considerate enough to be like, you know what, okay, I'm sorry that I did that, if that upset you, I'm gonna try my best not to do that again. So communicate, compromise, and just love that person regardless of their flaws, because you married them. Do you know what I mean? For whatever reason you married them for, there has to be some level of respect, mutual respect, and love. Love them, laugh, and live your life. Thank you very much for watching my video. Tune in for the next one. Hopefully, fingers crossed, guys, if you gave us, I don't know, let's just say 1,000, 2,000 likes, I can try to get my husband to do one of these where he can talk about his first marriage expressions, what he found the differences were between dating and the first couple of months of a marriage. Thank you very much again. Subscribe to my channel, give us a thumbs up if you like, and see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.